All right, what is good, YouTube? Today, I'm going to be showing you guys the top 5 best assault rifle loadouts here in Battlefield 6. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe, notifications turned on, and let's get into it. All right, the first gun up here today is going to be the Cord. This thing is absolutely incredible. One of my favorite ARs to use. You can see that it's really not moving a whole lot, and it is incredible. First attachment in here is going to be the long suppressor. This right here is a top tier attachment. Highly recommend you guys use a long suppressor on this gun because it fully hides you from in-world spotting, and it does also reduce recoil buildup, which is something that is very nice. It kind of does the job of, let's say, a break, you know, one of the double port break or the compensated break, but in the form of a suppressor. So keeps you largely off the radar, which is very nice. I mean, a lot of people don't be using that radar, but also just makes you quieter, and a lot of people just can't figure out where you are anyways. After that, in the barrel section, we use that 415mm prototype, aka the heavy barrel, that improves your firing accuracy over extended periods. I think if this gun gained any extra bullet velocity with, like, you know, this type of barrel, it might be borderline like really overpowered, just because, you know, you'd be able to mat people with a 900 round per minute fire rate. So that would be pretty busted. If it had even better damage or a better bullet velocity, make it definitely unbalanced. Want to max out all of your weapons to level 50 and unlock the new Unstoppable Force variants ASAP? Check out MITCH CACTUS. They are the absolute best and most reliable in Battlefield 6 and Call of Duty. Whether you want to increase your own level to 500 or get help completing challenges or even the campaign, they've got you covered. Everything is completely safe and legitimate for Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. They're super trusted by the community, and you may have seen them all over YouTube, and that's for good reason. With over 19,000 reviews and thousands of personalized vouchers, they're the go-to for all things Battlefield. Use code Chuck for 5% off. In the barrel section, I like to go for the rib stubby just because it reduces my recoil and enables a slightly faster transition to ADS. You don't need a lot of recoil control in this gun, like, so there's not really much of a point to run anything else like the stippled stubby or something like that at the cost of, you know, ADS, movement speed, and accuracy. Like, I don't need extra control and precision and stuff like that and less mobility. I prefer to actually be pretty aggressive when using this just because of its overall fire rate. So it's like you might as well take advantage of that. Down in here in the magazine, I went ahead and threw on the 36 round mag. Before I had the long suppressor unlocked, I was running the 40 round magazine, but it's like, you know, I'm gonna use that 10 points obviously to gain a little bit extra pointage for that suppressor. And I was running the standard suppressor beforehand, but we have the 36 round magazine on this, and that's going to be perfectly fine if you guys want to run it like that. Or even, let's say, the 30 round fast mag, and you'll have 10 full points to kind of use for whatever else on this gun. I personally don't really care as much for like lasers and stuff like that. As you can see, standard, no right accessory, and then of course up in here into the scope section, we use the MiniFlex 1.0, which also can be swapped out for something like an ROM, or even going down here just a little bit further, maybe for that BFM 2.5X. Absolutely phenomenal either which way. I mean, honestly, you really can't go too wrong. I think use the ROM more often than I would use something like the MiniFlex, but I mean, listen, just try out the Cord. You guys are gonna like it. Next up here is gonna be the B36A4. This is actually one of my guns that's like my go-to in the game right now. But I'm trying to like kind of sweat it out a little bit. Like, you know, I'm gonna be using the B36 just because its overall damage range, the bullet velocity is incredible. You can see it's got a bit of recoil, but as long as you can like tap fire it, burst it, pull down on the stick, you guys will be fine. All right, so first attachment is pretty standard, that long suppressor. Like I said, you know, the same thing for the Cord. It fully hides your in-world spotting, and it does reduce the recoil buildup. So, I mean, honestly, it's just making you more accurate, which is quite a nice thing to be able to have. Now for the barrel, I ended up going for the DMR barrel just because I wanted that extra precision. You can see that if I go for the fluted barrel, I do save myself, or actually I don't save myself points. I actually gain mobility, lose precision, and a little bit of, you know, ADS mobility, which does make this gun faster, and you can actually have a pretty quick ADS speed, but it's like, you know, 250 really is not that bad. And I prefer to have the extra precision just given the way this gun has for the recoil pattern. So I'd much rather my bullets kind of go more of where I think they're going to go, just where I'm aiming, and have less like bloom and dispersion and stuff like that. So I think it's worth it to run this over the extended barrel. I mean, I would, if I ran it, the same build would work perfectly fine, but overall I'm still running the heavy extended. In the underbarrel section, I'm using the canted stubby just because it's like I wanted something that moderately reduces the recoil, but also, hey, listen, if I really want to, I could go in here and throw on the stippled stubby. in which case I could literally do that and run the full 100 points. So it's kind of up to you if you want the ribbed, the canted, the stippled. All of them got their different pros and cons. I would say probably the rib stubby if you're going to be more aggressive with it and don't mind having a little bit extra recoil. But if you want less recoil and more, control and precision, then the stippled stubby is going to be great. Just keep in mind that you might have a little bit less accuracy when you're moving while ADS'd. So a little bit of an interesting trade-off right there, but I also don't recommend any of these down here. Not really something I'd ever go for. Magazine, just go for that 36 round mag. Not really beneficial to go for like the 40 fast, anything else like that. I mean, when you start getting to 30 points on an attachment, that's when it starts getting a little bit too much, maybe besides an underbarrel, because those are like worth having to spend the points for most of the time. But when it comes down to a magazine, I'd say that's just kind of not it. I'm going to tell them those extra, attachments to kind of kick rocks, because I'm not going to be spending my points on that. After that, standard ammo, nothing else in here. We're going to go throw on that beautiful BF2M. Absolutely love it on this gun in particular. Super nice to be able to have for range. You can use also that ROM, like I said, or even sometimes I'm getting real aggressive. Maybe I switch out that barrel for the one that's got more mobility, and maybe I'll throw on the mini flex. Just kind of depends on how I'm feeling and what I want to run. But generally speaking, to kind of go for something that's real safe and good for range, I'm going to go for the BF2M and that barrel that I showed you guys. So that right there is my full build. All right, next up here is going to be a build with the TR7. This is a really hard-hitting AR. Not really even much of an AR in my opinion. I mean, definitely much more of like an SMG AR hybrid, maybe even kind of like a carbine, but like if you can hit your shots with this thing, it's going to delete. So there is a variety of ways to build this, kind of depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to be really good for hip fire, if you're trying to make this into more of a hybrid AR SMG, if you're trying to make it better for range, like I kind of built my ARs a very similar way. But for this gun in particular, I was running the long suppressor purely because I thought that it had the best overall recoil control capabilities, and I did want to run this and still be able to take people out at like medium-ish range and not have too much trouble with it. So I found that the long suppressor was quite good for that. After that, we're just going to go for the extended barrel just because it increases my projectile velocity and enables a faster transition to my ADS, which is something that I very much so like. After that, I went ahead and threw on the canted stubby because it moderately reduces the recoil instead of the rib stubby, which slightly. You can see that the control and precision on this gun, I mean, listen, that's not a strong suit for this gun. Control and precision and having your bullets go where they're supposed to go, not a strong suit on this thing, but it makes up for it by having a pretty good rate of fire and 33 damage per bullet. So it's essentially like a 3 to 4 shot kill, probably a 3 shot if you get a headshot in there based on that damage multiplier, but like, you can take people out very quickly. So slap that on there. Really good. If you want to, you can throw on like some of these other ones down here, maybe in the classic vertical, but I think you're just a little bit too slow moving around when using those as opposed to like a rib stubby or even like a canted. Magazine, I just felt the need to go for the 20 round fast mag. I know we got the 25 round right here and the 25 fast, but it's like my points are better spent elsewhere, making this thing more controllable as opposed to, well, just trying to get more ammo in the mag. You could definitely kind of switch some things up if I felt like it, maybe try to free some, points up, but overall, I think this is a pretty top tier way to run this. After that, we have the lightweight rounds in here for the polymer case. Just it helps the standard penetration ammunition that provides improved ADS movement speed. So makes you a little bit better at close range when it comes down to just utilizing this thing. The only reason I'm also using them is just because, well, I have 5 extra points, and this is about the only real reason I'd want to throw on the polymer case on just about anything. So I'm just going to go throw that on there right now. After that, though, just to kind of round this build out, we're throwing on that Mini Flex 1.0. You can always use the OSA if you want to, but this is not a gun where you're going to be throwing on like a 1.7, a 2.5. Like, you're not doing that. Good luck. Godspeed if you're trying to use a higher zoom optic on this gun. It's just not going to work. So do yourself a favor, slap on a low zoom optic. Don't use the iron sights, that's for sure. And kind of just have some fun with it. It's going to be a hard hitting, kicking like a mule AR, but it's fun to use. Up next here is another very hard hitting AR, the NVO. This is like the more controllable hard hitting AR by a long shot. Actually one of the best you guys can use in the game purely is, for the overall damage output. And you can still use it at long range and basically full auto it and be perfectly okay. Hopping into this build, nothing out of the ordinary right here, long suppressor. I know some of you guys out there may not like suppressors as much, and that's perfectly fine. You can substitute it out for kind of really whatever you want. But I think largely speaking, if you are suppressed, you kind of tend to stay alive longer. So that's something that I just kind of, you know, put out there. It's like, you know, rather stay alive longer, get some more kills, get a better flank, get a better streak going, you know, take some more people out. I don't want to be getting one kill, respawning, dying. Like, that's not it. I'm not trying to do that. So we're going to go ahead and throw in the long suppressor, keep ourselves a little bit off that mini map and help our recoil control. Wow, my bad. Barrel, we're throwing on that 458 custom. Basically increases your projectile velocity and enables a slightly faster transition on the ADS. I mean, who doesn't really want that? I know, I for sure do. Down in here, actually not left accessory, down into the underbarrel, I use the rib stubby just because I feel like I try to be pretty aggressive with this gun, and that rib stubby definitely helps me. This is not a gun where I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna like utilize it because it's got like 0 recoil. Like, I'm trying to be real up in there in people's faces, and this definitely does help me out. So would recommend. Down here in the magazine, I go through on that 36 round mag. I did end up one point using the 40 round fast mag, but it's just like, you know, I feel like the rest of my build kind of suffered in controllability, just trying to get extra rounds in the magazine, which, you know, kind of defeats the purpose. Like, why have extra rounds if you're not going to be able to hit more shots anyways? So for me, I was just like, I'm throwing on that 36 and I'm keeping my better foregrip or underbarrel on there, you know what I'm saying? So we're gonna slap that on there and we're gonna be perfectly okay with that. Also, the 30 round fast is still good too. You guys could run with that if you really felt inclined to do so. Standard ammo, no red accessory, left accessory, and we throw on the ROM 1.75x. This is a heater optic. Love that. I don't really go much more than like a 2 times. Even still for the BF2M, I don't really throw that on here. This is one of those ARs where I'm throwing maybe like, yeah, that 1.7, maybe up to a 2. And maybe I'll even kind of dial it down to like a 1.0 because I'm gonna for real be pushing people. Like, when you have a 654 round per minute fire rate, good recoil control, and you're talking about 33 damage, that means I can put in some serious work and be aggressive. And it's like, why would you not use the NVO? So definitely go ahead and be aggressive with this gun, this exact setup. This right here is really fun to use. Last but certainly not least is going to be the L85. Now some people are going to be talking about, oh, you left out the SOR 556. It's like, yes, I know the SOR is still very good, but so is the L85, and maybe people like the AK4D, but it's like, we're talking about like peak usability. I'd say this definitely falls under very usable. And yes, I know that the SOR is very usable, but I mean, I've talked about the SOR so many times, and I do believe, I think the L85 here is just a little bit better than that gun, just because of the overall fire rate. So slapping on the standard suppressor here first. The only reason I'm not running something like the long suppressor is purely because I don't have it unlocked yet. This is a 22 build for me, so I don't have that. But if you guys happen to have that, then go and slap on the long suppressor, and you guys will be perfectly taken care of. After that, we're just going to go through on the extended barrel, just because like this gets you out to 1,017 meters a second in bullet velocity. So like you're very good at range. That's another high drawing point to this gun, is that like pretty decent fire rate, super controllable, great muzzle velocity. It's like you really can't complain with it when you're using this thing. So down in here, if you guys are going to be using something like that long suppressor, just go and throw on like that rib stubby, since you'll have it unlocked, and that'll be like your other good way to run it. For me, I don't have that unlocked, so I'm running the stippled stubby, which is still perfectly fine, and I could probably realistically even get away with like an adjustable angle or something like that, just because this gun doesn't move a whole lot. But point being, I'd run the stippled stubby for right now, and then throw on the rib stubby when I happen to get it to a higher level, so I can get that long suppressor and of course the rib stubby right here. Magazine, I throw on the 36 round mag, just because I mean that's what you guys should be running, like 36, 30 fast. That's gonna be fine. If you're using other proper attachments, you're just not gonna have points left over for a 40, and I just don't know anyone that's gonna go down in here and really spend the points on this. Like, it just doesn't really do you any good. It's like the rest of your gun's going to be a lot less controllable, or you're just not going to have a muzzle attachment, most likely. So slap on 36 and you'll be good. And of course, last but not least, we throw on that ROM sight, which also this gun could be upgraded to anything like the 2M or even like the Baker 3 times, just because of its overall low recoil. So kind of use whatever you want here. Even the Mini Flex 1.0, use that, worked out great, went on a pretty nasty tear with it. But this right here is going to be my choice. That's my optic of choice. And that's my full build. That's my top 5 ARs. If you guys enjoyed it, give it a like, subscribe, check out this other video on screen, and I'll see y'all next time.